All sample data in this tutorial is fictitious and for instructional purposes only. This video does not include any personally identifiable information.
Welcome to a tutorial for students using McGraw Hill SIMnet featuring Microsoft Office 365. This video covers In Practice, Access Chapter 3, Independent Project 3-5. Chapter 3 is all about queries. Queries are one of the most essential and useful database tools. You can think of a query as a question that you ask the database to get specific information back, kind of like a focused search. When you create queries in Microsoft Access, you're essentially building instructions for the database to filter out and return exactly what you need without sifting through all the data manually. Queries are incredibly powerful and practical in everyday life. For instance, when you withdraw cash from an ATM, a query finds your balance, deducts the amount, and updates your account instantly. Similarly, at a grocery store checkout, a query retrieves prices and calculates your total based upon your scanned items. In both cases, queries work behind the scenes to ensure fast, accurate, and useful results. By the end of this lesson, you'll have created your own queries in Access, giving you a first-hand look at how these tools can enable you to interact meaningfully with large sets of data. These skills are foundational not only for databases, but for understanding how information systems power many of our daily interactions with technology. Now, before you begin, you'll need to download your file from SIMnet. I've already done that, and I've opened it in Access. So let me go ahead and show you what I can see here. When you download a file from the internet for Microsoft Access on Windows 11 or later, you're probably going to get a security warning like the one that you see on my screen here. Windows will automatically block the file as a security measure, and this is because Windows considers the file downloaded from the internet to be a potential security risk, because files like Access and other databases can contain code or macros. So if you've already opened the file like I've done here, what you need to do is go ahead and close Access and then find the file on your hard drive. So it may be in your downloads folder or something like that. With the file closed and Access closed, go ahead and follow these instructions here. Right-click on the file and choose from the pop-up menu, Properties. In the Properties pop-up dialog, look at the bottom of the General tab for a check mark that says Unblock. You'll notice that it says this file came from another computer and might be blocked to help protect this computer. Go ahead and check off this box here that says Unblock and then click OK. Doesn't really seem to make a difference, but now when you open the file up, which I'll do right now, it's going to open it up in Access. And we're at the point where we can enable content and work with the file. So go ahead and do that, enable content, and get ready to complete this project. Keep in mind that when you're downloading files from the internet, if you know the source of the file like we do in this case, you can trust the file, but remember to be cautious when unblocking files from unknown sources. Okay. Now that we have the file open, go ahead and check it out. Enable content if you need to. This is going to complete the first few steps of our instructions, so I'll go ahead and check off steps 1, 2, and 3. And before we go into step 4, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the database with you here. For this project, we're going to pretend to work for the New York Department of Motor Vehicles. We're going to create 4 queries to extract data from a fictitious set of data about speeding tickets or traffic tickets. Let's take a look at the database to see what we're working with. There are 2 tables here. We can see them in our Objects panel. One is called Drivers, the other is called Tickets. I'm going to go ahead and double-click on Tickets and open that in Datasheet View. And what we can see here by looking at this is that there's a total of 41 records in this table. You can pause the video if you want to take a look at the data on the screen. Once you've done that, go and click on the View button here. It's on the Home tab on the left, and we're going to take a look at this here in what's called Design View. Okay, so what do we have? We've got something called ticket number. Notice that there is a key next to it right there. That tells us that that is the key field for this table, and it must be a unique ticket number. That's what it says here. These are mostly short text fields except for a date and time field and a currency. But we've got a driver's license number. That's the driver's license number of the person who received the ticket. Notice that it says here that it must match a license number in the driver's table. That notation in the description tells us that it's intended to link these two tables together. This would be a foreign key, which we can follow into the driver's table to get more information about the driver that received a ticket. We also have information about the ticket itself, the ticket date, the city where the infraction occurred, the primary factor, for example, speeding, the officer's badge number, and finally, the fine, which is the amount charged for the violation. Okay, so that's what we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and use this X to close this table. Don't need to see it anymore, and I'll open up the driver's table by double-clicking on that. And we can see here that it's got the type of data that we would expect to see in a table called drivers. For example, a license number is here, and that would, I presume, be our primary key. We've also got a birth date, last name, first name, address, etc. Now, notice here that on the left side of each one of these rows, there's a little plus sign, and if I click on that, it will open up for this particular record. So for example here, Ricardo Juarez, I'll click on his plus sign, and I can see that he's received 3 different tickets. This is called a subtable, and it is created because these two tables are linked together. There is a relationship established between the tickets and the drivers, linking the ticket to the driver who received the ticket. Let's close this table and any other tables that you've got open. If you've got the first table open, close it, close both of them. Don't save any changes. Let's do one more thing here. Let's go to the Database Tools tab and click on the Relationships button. That's going to give me a view of the relationship between these two tables here. It shows that we can take a look at ticket. There's a key next to ticket number. That's the unique field, the ticket ID number. But for driver's license number, there's a line that flows over to this table here to this license number. And we can get more information about each driver who received a ticket by following their driver's license number into the driver's table. This thing here is called an entity relationship diagram. And what that is it's a kind of a map that shows how the data is related in Access or any database. Access is a relational database. When you hear the term relational with regard to databases, think about tables joined by relationships. That's what it's all about. And so by having tables that represent people, places, and things, the relationships represent how they're related in real life. We kind of create a model of the real world inside of our database. So in our database, tickets are issued to drivers. This line here that says 1 to infinity tells me that this is a one-to-many relationship, meaning that each driver can get multiple tickets or none, but each ticket must belong to one and only one driver. Okay, so that's an overview of the database. I think it's kind of helpful to understand the structure that we're working with here. Let's be sure to close this and not save any changes. We shouldn't change anything here. But we want to have a clean and empty workspace as we go back to our instructions and pick up on instruction number 4. So let me go ahead and click on the instructions. And here what it says is that we want to create a new summary in Design View, a new summary query in Design View. The query counts the number of tickets issued by city and violation. So it says we're going to make 4 queries total. The first query provides summary data on the number of tickets by city and violation. That's what we're working on right here. So in Access, what I want you to do is go to the Create tab And in the Queries area of the Create tab, you've got two options here. Let's look at Query Design. Click on that button. And this is the workspace that you get. I'm going to pull this up a little bit just for your visibility. And in this case, we want to add one or more tables to our workspace here. Now, you might, in a real database, you might have 30 tables. You might have 40 tables or 50. So you don't want to just dump everything into your workspace. You're going to pick and choose what you want to see to keep it organized. What do we want? We want to add the tickets table into the Query Design window. Okay, let's go ahead and double click on tickets, or you can pick it up, click, pull, drag, and drop, but I'll double click it. That puts the table here. I always like to pull down the wireframe and stretch it upwards and downwards and sideways so I can see everything easily. I don't like to have any scroll bars. Increase the size of the table to display all the fields. I just did that. Add the following fields to the query: city, primary factor, and ticket number. Okay, so let's do it in this order: city, primary factor, and what I'm doing here is I'm double clicking with the very point of the mouse on the thing I want to add, and ticket number. What if I make a mistake? What if I double click DL number? Don't do that. Double click on ticket number, please. But if I were to add the wrong thing here, I can fix it by using this pull down menu and choosing the correct thing. So what I should have here are city, primary factor, and ticket number. City, primary factor, ticket number. Double check your work. And then we're going to go up here and we're going to click on this button here that's labeled totals. Okay, let's do that. And what that does is it adds the total row to the query. So if you look down here, once I click that totals button, it's going to add a new row here that says total, group by, group by, group by. Now, group by is the default. So if you have the total row showing, group by basically just kind of, it's going to list everything out there. But you can also use this total row to do some functions, kind of like in Excel, things like sum and count to see how many of something there are, or what the total value is, things like that. So we're going to actually, under the ticket number field, we're going to change group by to count. And so that is going to count how many times we have a ticket number that is issued in a city for a particular thing. So for example, let's just take a look at the tickets. We've got the city of Buffalo and we've got unsafe speed. So this will count how many times we had tickets in the city of Buffalo issued for unsafe speeds, and every other possible combination that exists of a city and a type of a violation, a primary factor. So how do we pull the data out of the database? Well, we're going to do that by going back to the Query Design tab here and clicking on the Run button. Now, just so you know, the Run button and the View button kind of do the same thing here. I'm going to use the Run button, and that's going to show me a data sheet that has just the things I have asked for here: the city and the primary factor. I can stretch this out so I can read everything better if I want to. So in the city of Albany, there was only one alcohol related ticket issued. We can see that in Albany, though, there was 3 unsafe speed tickets issued. So that's what this is doing. It's just counting how many times the combination of, in this case, Albany and unsafe speed occurs in the database. So we had about 41 different tickets, I think, and we have about 22 different combinations here because some of them occurred multiple times. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back to the instructions. It's going to have us save this. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this carefully, just getting all the red characters here. I don't want to get that punctuation, but it's going to be called, with no spaces, ticket count by city and factor. I'll go ahead and hit the save button here. I don't see a button, so I'll do File, Save, and because this is a query, it's not saving a new file, it's just saving a new object in our Objects panel. So since I'm saving a query, I just need to give it a name. I will paste here the text that I copied, ticket count by city and factor. If you're going to type it, you can certainly do that, but just type it exactly like they give it to you here with capital letters and all. Let me click OK, and now you'll see that we have a new category here of objects, queries, and we've made one query, and this is it. And the name of that query appears in the tab at the top of the workspace here. Okay. Let's see. Run the query. It should have 22 records. Let me go ahead and run it. I'll go to go back to my design view by clicking on the view button, and I can run it. And so there we have 22. They want us to go ahead and make these wide enough to show everything in each column. So you can double click on the lines that separate the heading at the top of the data sheet there between each column. And save changes to the query. Okay, so let me go ahead and close this query here, and that will ask me if I want to save any changes, and I do. I'll click yes. Now what they want us to do is to take this query here and to make a copy of it and to call that copy ticket count by factor. So I'm going to copy as carefully as I can ticket count by factor like this. Well, actually, I'll have to do that again in a second because I'm going to use copy paste to make a copy of this. Now, one thing that you could do is you could open this up. You could go to File, and you could choose Save As, and then choose Save Object As, not Save Database As. We don't want to make a copy of the whole database. We just want to make a copy of this one object, this query. You could click Save Object As, click Save As, give it the name that you want to give it here, and what would that name be? That name would be ticket count by factor. So I'll put that name there and hit OK. And it should, you can't see me, but I'm pointing at my screen here. It should have made a copy of that query right there. But for some reason with this project, this happens every time I teach this class, this doesn't work. There's a glitch of some kind. I don't know if it's with this database that they give us or if it's with Access. So we're going to do this a different way. What we're going to do is we're going to close this query so that there's nothing here. We're going to right click and we're going to copy it like this. Just choose copy from the pop-up menu. Put the point of the mouse on top of the query, copy it. Now in this empty area here, right click and choose paste. And now you need to give it the name that they want this to have. So copy or carefully type ticket count by factor. Put that name right there. Control V will paste. Control V is in Victor. Click OK, and ta-da, now we have a new query right there called ticket count by factor. So let's go ahead and see what we want to do with this one here. The instructions tell us that the second query summarizes the total tickets by violation. Okay, so let's see how to do that. We're going to edit this by deleting the city field, sorting the ticket number field, and save and run the query. So it's going to look like this here when we're done. Okay, let's take a look at Access. There it is. So go ahead and double click on this, and it's going to look like this right here. That's Datasheet View. Use the View button to switch to Design View. We want to choose which of these fields we want to include. We're going to remove the city field. So to do that, just right click on the city field and choose cut. Well, actually that didn't work. Go to the top of the menu here, top of the column here, and with the down pointing arrow, you should be able to cut it from there. There you go, that works. You know what, let me give you a better way of doing this here. I'll close this and not save changes. I'll show you a better way. Let's open this up. Let's get into Design View. Better way of doing this, I think, is to go to the Query Design tab and just make sure you click on the city column that you want to remove and hit delete columns. That'll get rid of it. That's probably the easiest way. So we're going to delete the city column, and which is the city field, same thing, and then sort the ticket number field in descending order. So ticket number, we've counted that, and we're going to now find where it says sort. It says sort right there. And so click in that row under ticket number and choose descending from largest to smallest. Go ahead and run that query right now, and you'll see that the unsafe speed is the most popular ticket. Alcohol, oh, that's not good. Drunk driving is like the second most popular ticket. That seems bad. Okay, anyway, that's what it is. That's what they want to see here. And so we can save the query, run the query, and it should look like this little preview right here, and I think that it does. Unsafe speed, alcohol, 10, 17, yeah. Driver distraction at the bottom there. Yep, that's what I got. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I will say yes, I want to save those changes. Now when I open this up again anytime, I can look at the same results. If the data in the database were to change, the results of the query would reflect the latest data. Okay, we should be on step 13 together here. We're going to create a new query, a summary query in design view on the total fines assessed against each driver. So up here it says the third query provides summary data for the total fines assessed against each driver who had a ticket. Okay. Let's close this query here so we have an empty workspace. And let's go down to step 13. Create a new query in design view. Add both tables. Let's do that first of all. Go to the Create tab. Click on Query Design right here. Double tap each one of the tables. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Notice that when I opened up my query design, let me go ahead and remove this here. There's actually 4 things here: tables, links, queries, all. Make sure that you click on tables here. Then you can add both tables, drivers and tickets. Okay. And I'm going to stretch out these wireframes here so I can see everything with no trouble. It shows me the relationship between these 2 tables. That should be familiar to you from the beginning of the video. So add both tables to query design, increase the size of the objects, add the following fields into the query: license number, first name, last name, fine, and ticket number. So I'll go ahead and move that over so I can take a look at it while we do this here. We want to have fields down here at the bottom. This is where we have the fields that we're going to be pulling out of the database here. License number, that's going to be in the drivers table. First name, last name, double click it. Fine, that's going to be in the other table, I think. And finally, ticket number. Okay, so we're pulling things out of each one of these fields here. Notice that it lists for each one of these columns here, the table is listed, drivers, and then the field. You can change these with these pull-down menus if you need to, if you put anything in the wrong place. You can also delete things. You can click on a column and you can choose delete columns if you make a mistake. So if you make mistakes, just kind of use the tools available to fix anything that you need to fix. Let's go back to our instructions right now. Let's take a look at, sorry, let me get that to not resize in a crazy way. Add the total row to the query, and we're going to sum the fine field and count the ticket number field. Okay, so go to this big button here, totals, click it one time, it turns gray. It adds the total row here, and we're going to use the sum function for the fine. So here's fine. Let's go and change group by to sum, S-U-M. And we're going to count the ticket number. Okay, so find the function for count. So it's going to count the ticket number. How is that working? Well, when we get this data extracted from the database, rather than listing each and every ticket, we're going to count the number of ticket numbers. And since a ticket number is a unique field that's never repeated, counting the ticket numbers is the same thing as counting the tickets. And that will give us a total number of tickets that meet these other criteria here, as opposed to a list of all the tickets. So I think that's what we want to do. Let me go ahead and sort the find field in descending order. So we're going to go to find, and under sort, we'll click descending. We're going to go ahead and save this thing with the name tickets by driver. And if this works properly, we should be able to see who is the most worst driver in New York. So I'll run the query here. And so we're sorting this in descending order by the fines, I believe. And it looks like Brian Shin is the guy who had to pay the most fines. All right, let's go ahead and I'll do Control S to save. I will use the name that I copied here, tickets by driver. I'll click OK. That adds that new query to my table, or to my objects panel. And here it puts the name of that query, so I know it's saved up in the tab. And run the query. The datasheet should display 23 drivers who have received tickets sorted in descending order by dollar amount. So how many? It tells me at the bottom here, 23. So that is correct. I can now close the query. Okay. And the next query that we're going to do here, I'll go ahead and close this so I have an empty workspace. The next kind of query that we're going to do is called a crosstab query. And to do that, we're going to use the query wizard. Now, using the design tools that we've been using, to me, is what you will be using about 90% of the time when you're making queries. But there are a few wizards that can help you if you want to do either specific things or you just don't really know how to make queries. So let's go ahead and launch the query wizard, choose crosstab query wizard, and see what we need to do here. So we're going to go to create. There's a query wizards button there. It has a little wand on it there. Click on that. There's several different wizards. Click on the second one, crosstab. Click OK. And it's a wizard, which means that it has several different windows that we cycle through to answer various questions. So the first thing is select the tickets table because that contains the data that we want to summarize. So I'll go ahead and click on the tickets table and move the primary factor field to the selected fields window on the second page. So click on next, and where it says primary factor here, click on that and use this little arrow here. It looks like a bird beak pointing this way to move one at a time. Move that one over there, and you can figure out what these arrows do if you need to correct a mistake or something like that. Select the city field on the third page to use as the column heading. So let's go to the third page, click next. What do you want to use for column headings? And I think they said city. So here we're going to have a list of factors like speeding, alcohol, stop sign, whatever it is, and then it's going to total up each one of those infractions for each one of the cities in the database. On the fourth page, select ticket number as and the count as the aggregate function. So let's go ahead and click on ticket number. Each ticket has a unique ticket number, so if we count the ticket numbers, it's the same as counting the tickets. So here we are going to choose ticket number and count just by chance, because they're at the top here, they're already selected. We're going to be naming this, and so I'll copy this here. Ticket factor city crosstab, copy. Yes, include row sums checkbox selected. Okay, so I'll hit, make sure that's checked, hit next. We're going to name this thing here. What do you want to name your query? Let's put in the name that they gave us right there. And then we'll go ahead and see what happens when we get the data. View the query, hit finish. And so here we can see that for alcohol, the total tickets was 10. That sounds familiar from our other query. Albany, Buffalo, New York, Syracuse, Yonkers, that's where they have the most alcohol-related tickets issued. I don't know if that's an enforcement factor or a drunk driving factor. So, but it's interesting that would be the case. Of course, this data is totally fake. Let's go ahead and save the query and close it. Close the database, upload the file. Yeah, we could, resize these a little bit to make it more readable. I don't know, they didn't tell us to do that, but there you go, I'll do it. I'm going to hit Control S to save. I'll hit the X to close this down. Before you upload your work, you probably want to go ahead and close Access. And here I'll tell you why. Because when you have Access open, it has this locking file here with a padlock on it. That can cause problems. Let's go ahead and close Access. That goes away. And so now I'll be able to upload my file. Let me go to the top of the page here. Upload the file. Upload the file. This is my file. I'll go ahead and send it up to the cloud, and I'll submit my file to see how I did here. Access takes a little while to grade, and I got a good grade. I got everything correct. So luckily I don't have anything to fix in this assignment here. So if you followed all the steps that I showed you, go ahead and upload your file, see how you did, and if you have any questions, you can resubmit it for additional points. And if you have any questions, you can ask your instructor, and they'll help sort it out for you. Thanks for watching the video. I hope that it helped you here with Access 2021 in Practice, Chapter 3, Independent Project 3-5. Good luck with your grade, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.